Moon Knight is right around the corner, and I've got 5 things that we absolutely need in this series so it lives up to the insane potential it has. Let's start right away with number 1, which is a more serious tone. Now, I'm not saying that Moon Knight needs to be all serious and dark all the time, because obviously we know that Marvel always adds some humor to their movies and shows, but I really hope they let this show dive deep into his dissociative identity order and his psyche, because there's a lot of interesting things that they could do here diving into Moon Knight's mental, and I just feel like this is a topic that could be really interesting, but if they start just having people and himself just making kind of self-deprecating jokes about it, kind of undermining the seriousness of it, I feel like it will take away from something that could be a really cool plot point and just allow us to have some things that we've never seen in the MCU before. And while in the comics, Moon Knight does have a sarcastic tone kind of, most of the famous comics that you've seen online are actually fake. So like I said, obviously there's going to be humor in it, it's an MCU show, but I just hope they can dial it down just a little bit for this and have something that's a little bit more serious. Number 2 is better fight scenes. Now hopefully the MCU has learned from the praises they received from Shang-Chi, because if anything, Shang-Chi really showed us that us fans appreciate great fight choreography, and even just the filming and how the camera moved around the fight scenes really just made the fights feel more alive, especially in Moon Knight, where there's going to be a lot of hand-to-hand combat and him using his athleticism, not so much, just lasers and magic flying around. It's really important that these fights look cool, because what I'm worried about is that this is going to fall into the Dark Knight trap. Now, I absolutely love the Dark Knight trilogy, but some of the fight scenes in there are absolutely terrible. Christian Bale looks like he cannot move at all in that Batman suit. It's just clunky all around, the fight scenes in otherwise amazing movies, so I really hope they learn and they brought people in to have some really good combat in this. Before we continue on, make sure to drop a like and comment one thing you absolutely need to see in Moon Knight. And now let's move on to number 3, which is no outer MCU connections. Now, if they want to tease them teaming up with some other MCU hero in the post-credit scene all the way at the end of the series in the final episode, I'm fine with that. But I think this series should solely focus on Moon Knight, because this is the first MCU show that we've gotten that's just solely focusing on a brand new character. And I feel like if they're bringing in other heroes in the final or having them have these conversations with people we've already seen, it's kind of going to take us out of this interesting world that they want to build for Moon Knight and make it just kind of feel like another MCU series. And like I said, I love the MCU, but I kind of want us to just build this world up of Moon Knight, his friends, his enemies, his powers. I just want it to be unique to him since this is his first appearance in the MCU. And like I said, if they're going to make him team up with people in the future, obviously I want to see that. I want to build towards another Avengers type movie. But for his first appearance for a character that's pretty unpopular in the comics, obviously now he's getting more popular with a series coming out, but overall not a lot of people knew about Moon Knight before this. It's very important, I feel like, that it's just only on him so that we don't take away from his story. Number 4, and this is a big one and I'm very worried about it, no bait and switch villains, please. Basically every MCU show have had these quote-unquote surprise villain reveals so far. WandaVision had Agatha, who, people theorized that she was going to be the villain, but it wasn't really revealed till later on in the series. Falcon and Winter Soldier had Sharon being the power broker. Loki obviously had Kang in the final episodes. Hawkeye had Kingpin. And all these characters I just listed were all great villains, and now all these were great villains, don't get me wrong. But when the villain only shows up in like the second to last and last episode, it kind of makes that connection versus the hero and the main villain just not feel like something that we really care about. Like, I mean, in Hawkeye, he never even faced off against Kingpin one-on-one, and Kingpin ended up being the big bad of the series. But I hope we just have a story about Moon Knight and one villain, and it's just them going at it the entire series. I don't want anybody coming in late. I'm a little worried about this one because in the trailer we see that Ethan Hawke is playing a villain, but the villain is Dr. Arthur Harrow, I think is how you say his name. And he's a very minor character in the comics, so it seems like they're either hiding the real villain again, or maybe they'll have this character take on a bigger role. Like I said, maybe it's possible that they just want the series to be more about Moon Knight, and they're just going to have kind of a villain that's just somebody that's a big bad, but not really known. But like I said, since they've revealed that there's a villain in this, and it's a pretty small character in the comics, I feel like there's a big chance that we get hit with a classic bait and switch again, and I just want to avoid this. Number 5. Kind of a bonus one, but I want to delve into the world of the Egyptian gods, because in the MCU we've really only gotten into Norse mythology and gods like Thor and Loki, but there's a huge opportunity to at least open up the MCU to another mythology and to delve into some Egyptian gods. I mean, this is pretty likely because Moon Knight is literally a servant of an Egyptian god in the comics, but I just hope they do some really cool stuff with this. Like I said, there's so many different mythologies and gods and so many different cultures we could get into in the MCU, so might as well start in here when you have the perfect opportunity to open it up. So that's my list of 5 things we absolutely need. If you want a part 2 of this or a 5 things we need in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, make sure you like the video. Check out my MCU movie ranking. See you guys in the next one.